Good morning, Barbados. Welcome to Getting Down to Brasstacks for Wednesday, March 7th. I'm Sanka Price, and I'll be your moderator for today's program, which ends today at 1 p.m. to make way for coverage of athletics. Our producer is Mr. Graham Vaughn. His voice will be the first you'll hear when you call us at 4341790. You can also reach us, of course, via email at brasstacks@starcomnetwork.net and on WhatsApp at 266-4862. My focus again today is the economy, but of course you can talk about anything else. Why the economy is because I think this should be the most discussed issue for the forthcoming general elections, because without a solid economy, our society will slowly unravel. And that is what we are witnessing in many with our infrastructure today. I want to share with you the economic letter for March, which was released this week by former Central Bank Governor Dr. Delisle Worrell. Since being fired a year ago, Dr. Worrell has been engaged in monitoring the economy and giving an analysis of what is happening in these monthly letters. Give a listen.
Good day. Barbados's foreign reserves drain worsened in 2017. The accelerating loss of foreign reserves in 2017 is evidence of the failure of government's adjustment policies. Reserves, which fell $246 million in 2016, declined by $274 million in 2017. Since December 2012, the central bank has lost over $1 billion of foreign exchange. The May 2017 budget was intended to arrest the decline in foreign reserves, which had driven the level below the critical minimum of 12 weeks of imports at December 2016. The main adjustment tool was the NSRL, which was expected to provide $218 million in tax receipts. In fact, between April and December last year, the NSRL yielded $97 million. The NSRL has had an adverse effect on economic growth. In the absence of the tax, the Barbados economy might have achieved another 0.5% on top of the 1% growth rate actually attained. That represents a loss of about $50 million of national income. The foreign exchange fee was introduced in the May budget to complement the NSRL by slowing the outflow of foreign exchange. However, shortages of foreign exchange persisted, mainly because government was obliged to repay $137 million of foreign debt. Foreign lenders were unwilling to roll over this debt because of government's poor credit rating. The third element of adjustment in the May 2017 budget was an across-the-board reduction of $82 million in government expenditure. Actually, total expenditure increased by $57 million between April and December. The largest items of expenditure are wages, subsidies to state enterprises, and interest on money government borrowed to fund previous year's deficits. The central bank's foreign reserves continued to be in free fall with the failure of government's corrective strategy. The current cost of government operations exceeded revenues by $288 million between April and December last year. And central banks' lending to the public sector increased by $372 million during the year. Unless this gap is closed, foreign exchange reserves will be exhausted and government will lose control of the exchange rate. The Barbados Sustainable Recovery Plan 2018 does not address this issue. All is not yet lost. The first order of business must be to remove the emergency taxes that are strangling private business and to cut public sector spending to eliminate the current account deficit. In my paper, The Road to Prosperity, I have calculated that an immediate cut of 10% in subsidies and redundancy of 1,500 public workers would suffice. That will halt the foreign reserves slide and open the way for discussions with the IMF on a program of financial support for a practical, well-designed strategy for public sector renewal. The full implementation of the 7-point strategy recommended in the Road to Prosperity will cure our economy of the twin illnesses of government overspending and public sector ineptitude, and release the pent-up enterprise of our dynamic private sector. Barbadians must insist that our government preserve our country's reputation for taking tough, short-term measures in the interest of future prosperity. Thank you.
And that was former Central Bank Governor Dr. Delisle Worrell. That's his March newsletter, economic newsletter. Basically, just to recap some of the major points raised, he said that the accelerating loss of foreign reserves in 2017 is evidence of the failure of government's adjustments policies. He also said that the NSRL has had an adverse effect on economic growth. And in the absence of that tax, the Barbados economy might have achieved 0.5% on top of the 1% growth rate that it actually attained. He's also said that the foreign exchange fee, which was introduced in the May 30th budget to complement the NSRL, which was intended to slow the outflow of foreign exchange, really and truly, shortages of foreign exchange have persisted, mainly because government was obliged to repay $137 million of foreign debt. The former governor also made the point that the central bank's foreign reserves continue to be in free fall with the failure of government's corrective strategy. And the current cost of government operations exceeded revenues by $288 million. What I would like today is, and he goes on to make a number of other points. The point that really jumps at me here is the fact that he says unless the gap is closed between the amount the government continues to spend and what the government actually earns from taxes, if we cannot deal with this gap, if we can't close this gap, it is going to exhaust our foreign reserves and government will lose control of the exchange rate. Some weeks ago, in an interview with the Bankers Association, it was one of the concerns, in fact, the major concern of the Bankers Association was, again, the trajectory of government's expenditure and the fact that they were very, very worried about our exchange rate because of the amount of money that's being exhausted by government. We cannot defend our foreign reserves. And as I said, I think this is the major issue affecting us because let's face facts. If we really don't have the money, then we can't fix the problems that we have in Barbados. So all the politicking by everybody doesn't really matter. The fact is, this country has a foreign reserves problem. It needs to be fixed, and we need to get some answers for it. Anyhow, that's my 2 minutes. I want to hear from you. This is Brasstacks. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Yesterday, you all had on members of the parties on the ears. Is that correct?
People's Parliament.
Good. Now, I don't want to get into politics for now, right? But I want some help. And let's say that I bought a car 11 and a half years ago from Simpson Motors. The car never gave me the problem. My granddaughter came back here, and she was driving the car. So she had it 2 weeks, and somebody told her the car needed water. And the price she didn't hear, but another point. But now the engine gone. Do Simpson Motor have to give me a car?
No. How you arrive at that?
No, I'm trying to find out.
So you said you had the car for 11 and a half years.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you maintaining the car properly?
It never gave me no problem. But now my granddaughter...
No, that's not the question I asked. Were you maintaining the car
Yes, I
efficiently?
was maintaining the car.
Says who? Says you.
Yeah.
All right. So if you were maintaining the car efficiently, then if it needs water one day, it does not get water, why should it break down? That doesn't make any sense.
No, my granddaughter had it for 2 weeks.
But sir, in 2 weeks, the car should not just fall apart. So if it was being properly maintained, and if the car needed water, the first thing that goes wrong, the temperature gauge ranges to let you know that the car is hot. So you lift the hood and you do something about it. You put some oil or you put some water in it. What is the point you're trying to make here?
Okay. I heard the candidate for the city in St. Michael, say that.
Which candidate? There are 3 or 4 candidates
I'm
for
talking about
the city.
the Democratic Labour Party.
Okay.
Made a statement that the problem with the sewage in the south and in St. Michael is a problem in Barbados, their private problem. Dennis Kevin made that same statement also. My whole thing is, if you take over something, you have to maintain, okay? Why it is so hard for people to admit just simple maintenance? You got to do maintenance. If you don't do maintenance, you have problems. You just can't sit there and let it stand and do none of it. So this is what I'm saying. We got to accept responsibility for our actions.
All right. So is there another point you want to make?
No.
The only comment I have to that is this. It is politicking. Understand it for what it is. Clearly, you coming from a certain perspective. The gentleman who's running for the city, for the government, is coming from a different perspective. So is Minister Kelman. All right? What Barbadians need to do is to think. That is all. That may be difficult. Some people do not see beyond their partisan beliefs. But the reality is that if you begin to think about maintenance of a facility, you would recognize where the blame lies. You would also recognize that, okay, if the particular facility was built, there were the Democratic Labour Party's government is saying that some of their spokespeople are saying that the plant was not built adequately and that there were problems from the very beginning. I don't know what the truth is. We have not heard anyone apart from Hugh Seeley, who was one of the managers at the time there, come out to say something about it. I don't know what the truth about it is. But the fact is that these things are accusations are thrown left and right. Look, at the end of the day, You have a problem. It has to be fixed. That is what matters.
Exactly.
And that is the only. No, I'm agreeing with you. So you know something exactly
No,
because
no,
I
but
saying what you
I
gonna
mean,
say. I agree with you. I am simply saying we have a serious problem that has to be fixed. It is affecting the lives and the basically the lives of people who live and work on the South Coast, and it is affecting the whole of Barbados' image because we have four advice. Well, I think there are three advisories we know about. And I heard an advisory was issued by Germany. I've never seen it, but certainly we know about those other three advisories. So don't about what is happening on the South Coast. We cannot afford that. Not with our economy in the perilous position that it is in. And that, to my mind, is what really matters. So I really want to get into politicking with you. You have something else to say, sir?
I will get you another thing, trust me.
Have a nice day. This is Brasstacks. Good morning. You're on the air.
A very good morning.
Good morning, sir.
May I
You need
say-
to close that radio
yes,
off because
yes,
I'm really
yes.
listening to myself right now.
What I'd like to say here, sir, greetings, salutations to your good self. After waiting to make a contribution yesterday for 2 hours and 59 minutes and 43 seconds, I was able to make my submission.
The program was 3 hours, sir.
And
You waited 2 hours and 59 minutes and 43 seconds?
That's right. I was from 10 o'clock.
You're on the air now, so
Yes, okay.
the clock is ticking.
Let
Make
me
your
say,
contribution
sir,
now.
What I'd like to say here, sir, pertaining to the new form political parties, it's my perception it is a well-planned, orchestrated move to undermine the true potential of the leader of the opposition, who has proven beyond doubt she is the most ambitious, brilliant, knowledgeable intellectual to take this country forward. Therefore, without doubt, they set out only to cut votes coming into an election with no track record, where the leader of the UPP has failed to win a seat. And pertaining to the leader of the party by Mr. Phillips, I would say where he personally is concerned, he's a very ambitious individual with a similar potential, similar to that of the late Dr. Richard Haynes, who had a lot of potential to carry the country forward. But where I would say here, sir, that it is a fact that without doubt, seeing that we are not having a full slate, anyone, it don't take a rocket scientist to tell you that it is there just to cut votes.
All right, stop. I let run, but I really got to interject here in the interest
Yes,
of
sir.
fairness. It is not a fact, and it is not without doubt. Okay, the third parties, Miss Eastman, Mr. Phillips, and others, the good bishop or Mr. Scanterbury, and others, they have a democratic right to be involved in the forthcoming elections. Their concern, as they have said, is that they want to bring a difference to what is taking place in this country. And they think that they have a contribution to make. It is not a fact, and it is not without doubt, as you are saying, that they are there to cut votes. That is your perspective. It may also be a perspective of a lot of other people, because what one is seeing is that the attacks tend to be against, what they're saying tends to be against the Barbados Labour Party. But the reality is that they have a democratic right to be here, and you cannot say that their sole intention is to cut votes.
Okay then, sir. Seeing that you have the potential for good reasoning Can I ask you a question before coming to conclusion? What is the record, to your knowledge, of the leader of the UPP who has run and lost? What is the record?
All I would say to you is that running an election and losing, she's not the first person to have lost. Okay? And
Okay,
the fact about it is, no, hold on. The fact about it is that she was a minister of government under the Barbados Labour Party. And for as far as I know, or I have heard, she was a very competent minister. So
Well,
what is the point?
Okay,
Look,
but
we gotta hold on. This is why I would suggest to you, and I'm talking to all people who come to this program when I am on, to support the Barbados Labour Party or to support the Democratic Labour Party. All right? To my mind, there is nothing wrong as far as I am concerned for you to have your views in terms of which party you prefer. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's no sin in that whatsoever. Everybody has their favorite. What I have a difficulty with is when you come pushing this line without trying to look at what is happening with the country right now. Right now, sir, I know that you're a pensioner, okay? I would like you to tell me what the state of this economy is having on you. That is what is important.
Sir,
what is the state of the economy having on you?
Like
How are you surviving on a day-to-day basis?
Well,
You want to talk to me about that?
What I can say to you, not only to me personally, but as a country as a whole, because what is happening, and without doubt you would agree, because of no clarity where transparency and integrity is concerned, because of the loss of transparency, it becomes very effective to me, personally speaking, because of what you call of the expensive cost of living, one, and there's a lot of price gouging in this country, sir. And this is why it becomes, and the absence of price control. Another thing, sir.
No. I can't get away with that price gouging. Where is the evidence? You people come here, you come and make these statements, and expect I can let it pass? No, you can't come and say price gouging. Look, hold on. If you tell me that things are expensive, fine. Okay? We have a whole bunch of taxes that make things expensive. We all know that. But don't come tell me about price gouging. There may be going on, but where is the evidence? Where has it been proven?
All right, so let me give you one of the evidence, because I do not come on these programs to say something. I call because I have something to say. And I do my homework first before I come to be criticized destructively instead of constructively. I give you one incident, sir. Can I?
Go right ahead, and I am not criticizing you destructively, okay? What I'm trying to do is to get you, and I will do it with every single call, to speak to an issue and stop telling us what is a fact and what is without doubt.
Okay.
When you have not brought the evidence to demonstrate it. Because one of the things that we are striving for on this program is fairness. Okay? One can have one's partisan view, but one must be fair on this program.
Okay, so here's the evidence. I've been to a particular place, which I would not call the name, for a blood pressure monitor. That place had it for $243. I've been to some place else where I was staying, and it was for $88.99. Another place, I've been to get a bag of special rice. That bag of rice was for $48 at one place and $56 at another place. I've been then another place to get some gorgeous yellow split peas. One place had the gorgeous yellow split peas at $2.99. The other had it at $4.79. Are those enough facts for you, sir?
Those are things that happen every day, but it does not prove price gouging. What it does prove is that you have, as a consumer, to be very discerning where you shop, and you need to compare prices. And I commend you for being able to walk around and be able to recognize the differences in prices, because I can tell you personally, since I do the shopping for my house, that you go to one supermarket and you see an item, and then suddenly you go to another supermarket and the same item is $3 or $4 less, as you just said. So therefore, you do have to shop around, and it is, in my view, a travesty that these things should be happening. But it's competition, and you need to be able to shop around. But that does not demonstrate price gouging. I'm going to give you 2 more minutes before we take a break, because you said you were on a lot yesterday. So for 2 minutes,
Okay.
go right ahead.
Okay, I've heard through rumor, and I do not believe in rumor, that the candidate for and the sitting member for St. John is not returning. Let's assume that they're fact in that. As you rightly said, it's one constitutional right to try to represent people. Do you agree with a person then? And
Excuse me? No, don't even try that. No. You cannot use those sort of words at all. Come again.
okay, then I'll come then. Would you agree then that a person who is believed to be a critic and a destructive critic of other people, who can be deemed as a failure, should not give a young, energetic, and a person with great potential that opportunity? Now, I do not know this lady personally, but hearing her on radio and TV, Miss Werner DePisa, I think she is one for the future. And I think although she do not...
Ms.
is not
Vera
a
De
member-
Pisa is running for Christchurch West. She's
Yes,
running for
this
the
is what I'm
Democratic
trying to
Liberal
say.
Party for the Christchurch
Yes,
West.
I know, but if you're
So what's
looking
your
at
point?
the seat for a person with potential...
But that's not for you to decide or me to decide. That is for the party to decide. And if the party wants the General Secretary, Mr. George Pilgrim, to run in St. John, so be it. And Mr. Pilgrim, by the way, is not a failure. Okay?
Let me
You
end
are
on this
hold on,
note.
no. You don't try that. He
let me
has
end
a
on this
hold
note,
on.
sir.
He has been very successful as an entrepreneur. Very, very successful. Okay? That's the first thing. Politically, he has not been successful initially. But there are, right through our system, our political system, there are people who have failed at the polls at one point and they come back. Mr. Chris Sinclair, for example, failed twice before winning his seat. Okay? And you can have any opinion that you want about him, but he has successfully been able to hold on to his present seat. And according to Peter Wickham's poll, according to Mr. Wickham and everything that he has said, he is unlikely to lose that seat because he has been able to build up a tremendous amount of support. So
let me
you
leave you on
cannot
this note,
dismiss
sir.
people as failures like that.
let me leave you on this note then, sir.
Go ahead.
I am predicting, although you cannot put trust in two people, the electorate or the jury, but I am predicting that the Barbados Liberal would have won 27-3. But since that there's a change in St. John, they're now going to get 28-2. Have a most enjoyable day, and thanks very much for being so patient. Very commendable of you.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day. We take a commercial break at this time. Welcome back to Brasstacks. This is Sanka Price with you. My operator is Mr. Graham Vaughn. You're on the air. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Sanka. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Wesley, right?
Yeah, man.
Oh, good.
Look, I can't disagree with you at all, all right? I think that
In connection with what now?
No. Let me tell you in connection with what, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been monitoring you, the way how you conduct yourself, and how you try to run your ship, right? in respect to the calling program. And I think that you learn fast. You're a very fast learner. And for whatever it were, Frank, I love to talk to you. I think that you're fair, and I think that's not to say that the rest aren't fair, you know. I think that you are very easy to talk with. And I'm not trying to build up points that you could give me like the show, okay? I am just saying to you that I would like a poll to go on moderators. I know you're the most recent one on the sect, but I would like a poll to go on moderators, and I'm sure that you will score very heavy. Enough of that. Enough of bigging up you. Okay?
Go right ahead, mister.
I want to say this here. I am not going to distance myself from my friends. I was a member of the Democratic Labour Party for 27 years before I tell them bye-bye. And I went and joined. This is now 4 years and counting that I joined the Barbados Labour Party, okay? And I'm happy to be a member of the Barbados Labour Party. But that's not to say that I still don't have respect for some people over on the political divide in respect to the Democratic Labour Party. And I sincerely hope that George Pilgrim get the nod. If it's supposed to be a nod, I hope that he get the nod in St. John, because George Pilgrim is one fella when it comes to me. I ain't bothered about nobody else, really. Politically speaking, when it comes to me, all George Pilgrim did for me was kindness, and he ensured at some point in time when he was in a position to assist me, he did it. Okay?
Okay.
But something had to come to an end. My relationship with the Democratic Labour Party had to come to an end. But I wish George Pilgrim well. Enough of that. Sorry, before I said that, I sure that I is George Pilgrim friend. Certainly is mine.
All right, sir.
Enough of that. A few weeks ago, in the estimates debate, right, I sat, well, not sat, because I was working and listened to the radio. I'm a radio man, right? I prefer radio. I hear Dennis Johnson say that he don't be so excited about TV, and I can understand why. Because give me a radio that kind of good program, I turn off the TV. And I'm serious.
We all have that. Well, three of us have that in common.
Yeah, I'm serious. You know, radio can outrun TV any day.
Any day. Any day.
I will say this to you. During the estimates debate, right? I work and I listen. I try to listen. I try to gain as much knowledge as possible, especially what happening around me. And especially at this time with the political upheaval in the air. This is my time. This is my time. Calypso and politics, I love it. People say they go hand in hand, and cricket, but I'm not very much a cricket man, all right? All right, enough for that. I want to say this here to you. I listened to the estimates debate, right? And I hear a case to make out for giving CBC almost $10 million to run their programs, right? And to pay the creditors and to do whatever they're supposed to do at the CBC. I went on Monday and speak to Jeff Brooms because I like talking to Jeff Brooms. And I tell Jeff Brooms, I'm not one that rejoiced when you did off, you know, when the program was off. I'm happy that CBC is up and running again. But yesterday, I must say, and I can say for this one, I must say, if giving CBC this amount of money and then have people on the set, on the calling programs, to do what I heard yesterday, and I want my detractors to listen to me carefully, because when they came back, I want to say exactly what I said. I heard yesterday a moderator referring to a citizen of this country as starve out. The man looked like he want food, he looked starve out. You understand what I'm saying? That is very stupid. Just because you and somebody don't get along. I would say this to you, Mr. Price. I know that individual for over 20 years, and they're talking about the person that was referred to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let me call the name. I know Patrick King for over 20 years. We used to meet on the auction blocks. Patrick loved cars, and I deal with cars. And Patrick and I would meet sometimes at the same auction, vying for the same vehicle. Sometimes he outbid me, sometimes I outbid him. And this is over 20 years. Patrick King, a matter of fact, he get big now. Patrick King never did a big guy. Patrick King was always skinny. All right? So to hear somebody say because the man, right, remain, because he's not a young guy any longer, to remain in that shape and in that figure, right, that you can refer to the man, somebody that obviously don't know the guy, and starve out and want food. I believe, right, that Barbados and the CBC sank the all-time low.
All right. Well, let me start with there, though.
Yeah, okay.
I've given you a lot of latitude. But let me talk about something that is really
but I don't want you to comment on
kind
it.
of I'm not going to comment on that at all because I think it is sad, and I really mean this. I think it is sad that in this country, but not only this country, all over the place, we like to deal with messengers and not the message. Okay, it is much more convenient, and this is everybody, either side, or say all the sides, they deal with the messenger and not the message because it is much easier to pull down somebody and make somebody look bad in the eyes of others and get them to laugh and lose sight and to distract from the issue. Okay? And for me, I really don't have no time and energy for that. Okay? That's me personally. And really and truly, as long as I'm doing a program, I really ain't got the time really for that.
Good.
I'm here talking about the economy. I would like to hear if you would want to say something about that.
I mean, before you take one single call today, Mr. Price, you play an extract, and I don't think the extract is from vintage. I think
this is he just released it this week. This week he released it 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, I think.
So excuse me. So if these people, and let me refer not these people, that sound bad. If former Governor Dr. Worrell had his finger on the public purse, he had the government checkbook in his back pocket, walking both ways for how much years now?
8 or 9
6, 7 years?
Yeah, 2009.
Good.
I think.
So
yeah, 2009.
he is valuable and he is very good position to speak better than I or you about the economy of Barbados. I could only, right after he laid out what he said this morning, who am I now to come and talk about the economy? He tell you it in chapter and verse. He gives you it in blueprint and in hard copy.
But as a middle-aged man, what are your concerns?
Well, you know me and my age.
Huh?
Well, you know me and my
I
age.
won't call you old man, but as a middle-aged man,
my man,
if you're going to be in one particular if you're in one particular party for 27 years and another one for 4, that alone is 31 years. Okay, and we have to assume that you were of sound mind.
And you
were an adult. So therefore,
I hear you say you come down in 1959. So I come down in 1959 too. So do the math.
As I said, I did call you that. I said middle-aged man. Anyhow, so your reaction to this? I'm going to read a WhatsApp here. Morning. It is ridiculous that Dr. Worrell is so outspoken now that he has been fired. He should have been transparent and honest about the economy from years ago, but instead decided to fund the government's expenditure and is also to blame for our current situation. As a citizen, I do not trust his words, and I am sure many feel the same. What is your response to that, sir?
I don't necessarily agree with that. I am saying to you that I come down here in front of the court in Blackman Days, the very first governor of the central bank. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
You remember when the central bank opened? It opened under in 1986, I think it was, and Dr. Rishi Haynes was the finance minister, and the first central bank governor happened or was placed on us in 1986, and Rishi Haynes did not attend that opening of the central bank.
But there was a cloud over it because the Democratic Labour Party at the time, under Mr. Barrow, did not think that there was a need to build
build a central bank.
to build that edifice that they have there. So they didn't agree with it. And in fact, I remember the quote very well when he eventually went to a performance at, this is Mr. Barrow, when he eventually went to a performance at the auditorium. And this is when Rachel Springer. No. His goddaughter, Rachel Springer. This is Sir Hugh's daughter. You know, she was a dancer when she used to dance in Paris, and she was putting on a performance there, or she was involved in a performance there. And he said words to the effect that it took more than. She did more than a wild pack of horses could have done, you know, to bring him there. But the point is that they stuck to principle. They believed that the building should not have been built.
I remember
and
the was elephant.
So when it was open, they did not attend.
Good, but I want to make the point. And I think it was Sir Courtney Blackman utterance that I'm a creature of the minister
of finance.
Yeah. Creature of the minister of finance. So I sympathize with Dr. Worrell, right? It's just like you commission Peter Wickham to do a poll. But you ask Peter Wickham, when you go on Brasstacks, I don't want you to discuss this poll, let me be the first to publish my poll. You understand what I'm saying? So that I believe that is the predicament that Dr. Worrell would have found himself in. However, I commend him today, though. No, we don't have on any shackles to tell Barbados exactly the findings that he see today because he don't have a boss.
All right, sir.
And that is what people got to look through.
Yeah.
I would love this program finish at 1, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, look, in the interest of time and other people, I would bid you farewell today. But I will still listen.
All right, sir. Thanks for being here. This is Getting Down to Brasstacks. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Price. How are you this morning?
I am fine, thank you. Speak up a bit more. You sound like if you're laying down in bed, man.
Well, I just want to look at two things here. One, some utterances that I would have heard over the past few days, where the Honorable Prime Minister would have came in the newspaper saying why he didn't reshuffle the cabinet. I could well remember that early on, when people see where the country was going, and there was calling and asking and talking about the reshuffle, we didn't get an answer. We didn't hear. We didn't get no reshuffle then. So I can't see why there's no more parliament or anything like that. He will want to explain to me as a citizen of this country, we in all these problems that we in financially, why he did not reshuffle his cabinet. Because there is absolutely no solution for me now. I don't want to hear. Because he should have done it to try to save us from some of the problems that we have now. Now, the next day I would have heard him saying at some meeting about the country, how stable it is, and how we believe that the country diddling their arms and they ain't doing anything, and asking to hold on, and the problem at the storage project in the South Coast, and how it is that Barbados and they ain't a country that perfect. I tend to get confused when I hear these kinds of things, especially coming from my leaders. when the country is in the state that it is in now. I may agree, you don't got things perfect, everybody imperfect, but there are some things that when you look at them, you can see the imperfection, that they are not right. And I am saying, based on the amount of downgrades, based on the problems with the storage situation, which can harm the country, I don't believe that we should get these kinds of comments now, especially at this time. So all I am saying is that I am wondering why at this particular time you should be getting these kinds of comments and so on, because at this time I feel the best thing now that the Parliament going, that we should look at having an election now and seek a mandate to get us out of the rut that we are in. Because I can...
How would elections, sir? How would elections help? In your view, how would elections help?
Well, my view is that at this particular time, I will say the country don't have any leadership. I think that leadership is one of the most important things that the country would need now at this time.
Let me put a scenario to you. Let me put a scenario to you here. We're going to have elections. We're going to have elections within the next 90 days anyway, so hold tight. The point is, we have elections. The present government retains power. What would you say then?
All right, there's what I will say to Barbadians. Whatever happened, whether we sink, slow, or fly, they would have made the decision, and whatever happened, they would have made a debate. They would go lay down in it. But I am saying that at this present time, the horizon is saying to me that change is necessary. So therefore, you would have seen what you would have gone through. And therefore, I'm saying that there's time that you can look at having a change. If you decide then that you don't want that change, it is up to you. Mm-hmm. You agree with me?
I hear what you're saying. All right, sir. Well, look, thank you.
That's me.
Fair enough.
That's my position.
All right, fair enough, sir. Have a good day, huh? Wesley, if you're listening, this one is for you. This is a WhatsApp message. Ask Wesley if he ever listens to Patrick King's videos on Facebook. Patrick King criticizes members of the DLP. He calls them the worst names one could ever think about. So tell Wesley, shut up. We take a break here for some commercials and we'll be right back. 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 Some commercials and welcome back. Just let me read two of these WhatsApp messages since we have a whole set here. This one is directed to Sanka Price. In your efforts to be nonpartisan, you're being ridiculous. Thank you. This next one. Last night up to 7 o'clock, the children who ran at sports were at the dark bus stop by Waterford waiting for a bus. No bus. When the bus came, it passed them all. I want to say to the parents, please pick up your children. Do not leave your little children out so late after dark. Please, did you ever see children falling down because they did not eat for 4 hours? So this person is very concerned about that, and maybe it's something to look at. It's 10:54. Let's go back to the phone lines. You're on the air. Good morning. This is Brasstacks.
Good morning to you, Mr. Price.
Mr. Patrick King.
Yes, sir. How are you doing?
I am well, and I just read a note that you say some of the most horrible things on Facebook. Don't even try it here. Make your point, sir. Make your point. Make your point.
Mr. Price,
don't even respond to that. Make your point.
I want to thank Reggie first for coming to my defense. But Reggie knows me well enough that I am very much capable of defending myself, and I will do so whenever the time comes. But what I want to say in response to the WhatsApp message is that every single name that I refer to, any individual either in this administration or any person I speak to on any of my live Facebook pages, I can substantiate. Mr. Price, there's something that you must know about me that I must tell you. I will never dare venture to speak on a topic or to make utterances to anything to which I cannot substantiate my training does not allow me to do it. I said over and over, and I will say in closing to you this morning, every single thing that I've said on all of my live broadcasts on my Facebook page, I can substantiate. In my possession are 20 sworn affidavits of persons who came forward and gave me information relative to spanning across 6 government ministries in this country. And at the appropriate time, I will make them available to every single Barbadian who wants to view and see them, that they will know that I don't have the time.
Have you received any lawsuits as yet?
I didn't hear that.
Have you received any lawsuits as yet?
No, I'm still waiting, because that is the place I really want to get, because that will give me the opportunity to do the things that I really would like to do. So I'm hoping that somebody could have the statistical fortitude to make the mistake and bring me before the law courts for any defamation or anything that I've said in my videos, because
right.
I will have the opportunity.
All right, sir. Make your point. I'm sure you didn't call here to talk about that. Make your point.
No, but I really want to say that, and then I will speak. Then, since you want me to make another point, then I will speak then to the issue of the St. John seat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taken back by the comments of Mark Thompson, simply because that Gerson character interviewed Mark Thompson on her arrival to Parliament one morning. And in that interview, a number of things were said according to Gerson Carter's report. I must rely on Gerson Carter's report, because the nation came forward and said that they will support Gerson Carter, and they made reference to her style and the time that she spent on the job as a journalist. So I would rely on her report. And Gerson Carter carried the story. Now, Mark Thompson gave the impression that Gerson Carter had cast a dark shadow over the Nation newspaper and called into question the judgment of the press by the article that was published. Now we have learned yesterday that the same Mark Thompson has now spoke the race, and George Pilgrim is now the new candidate for St. John. Read between the lines, Barbadians. We will know, so we now know who was truthful and who was not truthful. That's all I will say in relation to that.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for calling. Have a great day. Good morning, Mr. Price. What guarantee do you have? What guarantee do you have that the Prime Minister will call an election by June? If he doesn't, then what? I await your comment. All I will say to you, WhatsApp writer, is that constitutionally we are supposed to have an election within the next 90 days, and that the Prime Minister is the Prime Minister, and I respect him as that. And if he says that will happen, I will believe him. We go to the next call. This is Brasstacks. Good morning. Yes, good morning.
How are you doing?
I am well.
All right. Now, I want to do with 3 points.
My Blue Horizon man, you're done with the Blue Horizon one time.
Yes, I want to do with 3 points. And I'm going to be very straight and short.
You usually are.
Well, let me try to address the one that you spoke about, the economy.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jesus Christ, he went down here, he did parables that the average man could understand. Now, the 3 points I want to do is the one you spoke about, the economy, the dissolution of Parliament, and for the first time, I will deal with the storage project. So let me give you a little bit on what I feel about the economy. You went to school and I went to school. You remember when we were at primary school and you're differentiating between a duck and a chicken? You remember what the teacher would tell you about the duck?
No, you remind me.
The duck, the said, had a web between its toes.
Yes, toes, yes.
That enabled it to swim.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
The chicken never had it.
Mm-hmm.
Now let me talk about the economy. The Democratic and the Labour Party, I will call the Barbados Labour Party the duck, and the Democratic Labour Party the chicken. When the master throw water in the duck pond, the duck is able to walk the yard and yet swim. The chicken can't swim. The DLP already told you they don't deal with the economy. So don't make the sense deal with the economy because they can't swim. The water in the pool is like the economy. They call it around the pool, but they can't get in. And the Prime Minister outlined that when he called the economists. He told the economists that there are like a blind man in a dark room looking for a black cat. So don't make sense talking about the economy under the Democratic Labour Party administration, which has now been dissolved. So you can't talk about the economy because you didn't get now go because they can't get in the pond. They don't know nothing about the economy. So it's obvious that the economy will go like this. Now let me deal with the dissolution of Parliament.
Just let me clarify something that you said. You said haven't just been dissolved. It's the House of Assembly.
The House of Assembly
has been dissolved.
And that's what
the
I
ministers
want to get
are
to
still
this
in
point.
place. Okay.
That's where I want to get to this point. Now, since yesterday, everybody is querying about the 90 days, and people believe that the 90 days should be there for emergency. Now, if I remember my politics very well, in order to be a minister, you have to be in the upper house or the lower house, right or wrong.
Yeah, but there's a provision. I know you're going with this.
But
All right, if I let you go ahead, and I'll correct you when you finish. You go ahead.
Because naturally speaking, there is a lot of practices that are not right. And that is what I said from the beginning. This government is the government of the Governor General. The day that Parliament opens, she states, not she, the previous Governor General said, my government. So I believe this is a point in time where the Governor General, and I call into Mayor Motley, get a constitutional lawyer. Let us understand whether or not, in the absence of Parliament, it means there are no members of Parliament. MP means member of Parliament, but it could also mean money and pension, right? So what I am saying, with the absence of Parliament and that signature or that form of MP is no longer in existence, because you can't call them members of Parliament because there's no Parliament. I want to know if it wouldn't be fair that since you've gone into these 90 days, the onus will not be on the Governor General to appoint an executive to oversee the spending of money. Because all these politicians will be doing right now, they can't draft a law, they can't do anything pertaining to the legal rights of the country apart from overseeing money spent. And I believe they are not in position to do such. It should be an executive body named by the Governor General. That is sufficient for that. Now, let me go on to the sewer system. And this is the first time, and I hope this is the last time, that I will be making any mention of the sewer system. I listened on all sides, and I heard people critical. It did not build to carry that amount of volume of sewage. Some said it need maintenance. But if you maintain a vehicle that is carrying 6 tons of weight, continuously it would last. But if you add 20 tons, it means the capacity need more. Now let me give you a draft illustration. Where vision and politics is necessary. And I lay this clearly on the shoulders of the Barbados Labour Party. Let me get this right out the way. You can remember the Cricket World Cup?
Yes.
The Barbados Labour Party was visionary, although it didn't work out their way. They knew an influx of people was coming into the island, and they made provisions, right or wrong. They even had a boat with staying outside the waters to accommodate in case this influx of people came. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
You could recall the highway by Tom Adams. The building of the cement plant caused a road to come from what you would consider the clear in St. Andrew straight to the plant, because the plant would be there and accommodation was made to accommodate those trucks. Now, this is where I take a problem with the Barbados by not having any vision. Their onus is on tourism. You would hear the Minister of Tourism come on the air and tell you how much additional rooms will be built at Sandals, how much additional rooms will be at Blue Horizon. But he never decided to discuss discussed with his minister how much additional waste will be placed on our system. With the influx of all of these different people, where was the vision to realize if you know that that plant didn't carry so much sewage, do you expect when the people come here, they didn't have more extraordinary sewage, Mr. Price?
Well, how I'll answer you is that I don't know if you listened to Sunday Brasstacks Sunday, sorry. I had here the engineer, the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers, and one of the points that Lieutenant Colonel Brown, the president, was making repeatedly was that there's a need to set up a body of professionals that would look after the infrastructure of the country, and they would be the ones to make decisions on how to basically help develop the country, because they would have a comprehensive look at it rather than let politicians make those decisions, since politicians make decisions based on what is better suited for their constituents or their particular interests at the time. And what bothers me, well, not really bothers me because I recognize why it happens, but it upsets me because I think that we need to mature as a democracy and as a people to recognize that when we go to places like the United States and Canada and England and parts of Europe, Western Europe that is, you can see the level of development that takes place. And it's not what some of the politicians would have done, but it is because there are these professional associations, or rather the government would have ceded authority to some body that looks after things like infrastructure and whatnot. So you have this continuing development that takes place irrespective of which administration is in power. And I think we need to get to that. I think the problem is that, you know, we're a small country, and therefore everybody likes to pound their chest and say, I did this and I did that. But the reality is that we really have to look in terms of our development, that we need to have a nonpartisan body to do that. That's my thoughts about it. A lot of people disagree. I really don't care. But as I said, those are my thoughts about it.
So we end up that the tourism minister bragging by the amount of visitors, but yet he didn't make provisions for the storage system to accommodate the visitors. So this is really democratically a party score zero in my eyes as far as visionary thinking is concerned. You load up the system and they had nowhere to put the system and had nowhere to put the storage. So on that note, I finish with that, and I believe anybody with a molecule of common sense will know that the Democratic Labour Party bring in the Sanders and bring in the next body, and did not look at the most important part, is that the sewage system. Thank you, Sanka.
Okay, sir. Just let me read this one here. Good morning. I used to think it was price gouging until I got into business. This man is responding to the elderly gentleman who called earlier and talked about the amount of the differences in prices. And the gentleman saying, as I said, I used to think it was price gouging until I got into business. What people do not understand is how goods are bought. If I buy my goods for, let's say one dozen of particular item, and the other person buys 3 or 4 dozen, his purchasing price will be a lot less than mine. Therefore, his selling price can and may be lower than mine. And he's saying that this is what happens, and this is why we have this differential in pricings. And I have this another one here that I want to read for you, which I think is pretty interesting. How come Mia Motley is said to be power hungry when we have a prime minister who has held on to power longer than any other prime minister in our political history, despite the fact that every day the general elections is delayed, sees Barbados' economic situation become more dire? Interesting question, and I'm sure you're going to get some reaction to this. You're on the air. Good morning. Good morning.
Yes. Hey, good morning.
Oh, perfect.
What happened? What do you know? What did they not do?
Good morning, sir. One of my favorite caller.
Oh dear, there you go. Yeah, man, this is not good, man. You know, you guys patronizing this thing and got me feeling uncomfortable now. Look, you know.
Tell me something. You want to respond to this WhatsApp message? How come Motley, Mia Motley, is said to be power hungry when we have a prime minister who has held on to power longer than any other prime minister in our political history, despite the fact that every day the general election is delayed sees Barbados' economic situation become more dire? Would you like to respond to that, sir?
I don't know. I don't like that's a BLP DLP thing. As far as I'm concerned, they could fight it out amongst themselves and just leave.
It's a Barbados thing, sir.
It's not as a party.
It is a Barbados thing because
the prime minister.
But every you hear what you said. I remember back in 1991, the general election. That I thought that was really, really interesting. I remember hearing Erskine Sanford Nelson Lloyd making the point about Henry Ford Nelson Henry and the late Dr. Richie Haynes now were being power hungry, and they were telling untruths about the IMF, etc., etc. And within 6 months after winning the election, we were in the hands of the IMF, but these guys were power hungry and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I can also tell you that I've heard just about in every other election, the opposition, the government saying about the opposition that they're power hungry. I remember Mr. Owen Arthur made the statement calling the then opposition Democratic Labour Party under David Thompson wild boys and that they're just power hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
I'm gonna try to sound like Sleepy. Why you feel like I get involved in politics? I be on the air bar. I don't think that I want to be in charge of all that power. Huh? We burn there. Huh? We all want power. You know, that's I don't think I quote it word for word, but that you going back to 1970, 80 something. You know, come on, let's be faithful, man. People get involved with politics and public life and take all the beating in public, and you know they get their lives exposed.
What is your beef today, my friend?
If you ask me to respond, now you tell, oh God.
No, but I didn't even know you responded.
Sorry, good.
I didn't even realize you were responding. Sorry about that. Come on, I respond.
You say
I forget you don't talk in a straight line.
Yeah, I can straight, man. Sorry, man. I wish I had laughed at you. You know, it's infectious. You know what I mean? It make it why you get less angry and more in line with the.
My friend, life is short.
Life is short. It's quite right. You got a foundation, right? Apparently.
Yes, sir.
That's where you and Peter and everybody's got this coming together now.
No. Huh? Well, look, let me put this video. Okay, if we want to go down there, let me go down there. All right. The Prime Minister of this country.
The Prime Minister
was also there. Sir, not the Attorney General, the Chief Justice was also from Foundation.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So Roy is also from Foundation. Okay.
Sorry, fair enough.
And I can name a whole bunch of other people who also went to school there. So don't okay. And Peter would be a youngster to me.
So he's a youngster, okay, fair enough. But he's an old man to me apparently, so I don't know. I met him a couple of times. You seem older than me. I could be wrong. You never tell me his age. But here's the thing, my man. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, all right? No, all right. You say the problem is economics. I say it's more governance because governance supersedes economics when it comes to, you know, the solving of an influential problem. Mm-hmm. You solve one, you automatically solve the other. If you solve the problem of economics, it's like putting a plaster over the issue. If you solve the problem of governance, economics fall completely in line. And part of that governance issue has to deal with the role of the central bank. Mm-hmm. So it's all very well and good for the central bank governor to come and speak, as Wesley was saying. Sorry? The former. Mm-hmm. I say all these fancy stuff and things. But one of the flaws of the so-called governance model that we have, indeed, as Mr. Wesley was saying, is that the governor of the central bank, the role of governor, reports directly, not no dotted line anymore, into the Minister of Finance. And unfortunately, that becomes the case because he is under contract. When he was a civil servant, he was reporting more or less to the head of the civil service. I forgot what his or her name is, I believe her name is. But now that he is under contract, he reports directly into cabinet. So you have a problem. If you really want to fix this economic problem, like what about considering options like, you know, having Barbados join the OECS? Because they don't have that problem, you know.
They can't. They can't.
All of them have. Sorry.
They can't get that problem.
They can't have that problem because all the ministers of finance are separate. The Constitution provides for the separation of powers between the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. It should also provide for the central bank governor. He should be reporting to the Minister of Finance. That is problem number one. He should be like a police person, the go-to when it comes to solving and ensuring that the public is protected from some of these nincompoops that make policy. No, truth be told, the OECS still have their difficulties, but the protection of the 2-to-1 peg, no, it's not 2-to-1, Nick.
278 to 1.
Right.
278 to 1.
270. No,
It's 270. Yeah, 234. Sorry, 234, I think.
Oh, yeah, depending which way you look at it. Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not one of the issues to contend with because that is done separately and distinct from the policy setting of each individual country. We should be part of the OECS, but not skip a bar here and there. No, man. If you got to be part of the OECS, I got to be Prime Minister.
And you tell me about going back? You tell me about looking back in years?
No, but
that goes back to the little eight, the whole debate of the little eight.
The little nine. Yeah. Well, the reality
called
is
the
that,
little eight.
well, 1 from 10 equals 0. That left 9 really.
No. That's federation. Federation is something different.
I know, but then you left with 9, and then one fella said, if you want me included, I gotta be Prime Minister. That dropped it to 8. So that we are out. And unfortunately, those decisions are affecting us today because we are stuck with the same back and forth, the same Labour parties, with the same stupid policy. The man says send home 1,100 people. Are you being serious?
Who's this?
The same ex-central bank governor.
No, it wasn't 1,100. No. He's saying this. Hold on. He's saying that you should retrench 1,500. Same thing. Retrench. Hold on. 1,500 a year for 3 years, which is 4,500 people.
Oh, good God! Listen? Okay, here's the thing.
How much were sent home in 2013? According to the unions, it was close to 6,000.
Right, right. They said 35 and it was closer to 6, but then they went and reemployed even more. Look, here's the thing.
Hold on. No, do we move on so fast? The point that I'm making there is that what the central bank governor is saying, what the former central bank governor is saying, what Dr. World is saying, let's call him Mr. World, Dr. World. What he's saying basically is you retrench these people, you give them a good package. He quoted in a figure, I think it's about $50,000 or $60,000 per person. But financing, he explained how that financing could be done, etc. But the key thing is that you right size your ministries.
Right. Okay. So in other words, it's just he's not just pulled a number from the top of his head. He's actually given a rationale for this. But you got to drill down because who is he sending home? If he sends home people who are maintenance workers, that means the roads will look even worse. If he sends home people who are protecting people's lives on the coast guards, as it did 3 years ago, that means people will probably drown. If he sends home policemen who are already understaffed by 527 people, that means you're going to have more crime knocking about the place because less policing. Who are you going to send home? Reality is, with government, the biggest difficulty is a bulk of the money is spent on administration and consultants. You got a lot of people in government making a lot of money and doing practically nothing. To my mind, government should be operational. Once you get paid with taxpayers' money, you should be doing something. Of course, you need some level of supervision. But when you got tiers upon tiers of supervision and consultancies and stuff, you have a lot of wastage. I don't want to send home nobody. I don't even think anybody should be sent home. But you got to start checking on them salaries, man, and how they're doing. In fact, truth be told, look, let me say for argument's sake, a cabinet minister, we got 20 of them, and what they call this parliamentary secretary. 20 of them.
Okay. You include the parliamentary secretaries, right?
Yes, because it's the same salary and the same 14 something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in reality is, that one man is equivalent to 3 policemen or 3 nurses. So one thinking, the more you send home of them there, the more people can be replaced. You have a greater opportunity perhaps to employ more operational staff. We need more school teachers, for argument's sake. We need, you need better paid school teachers. As far as I'm thinking, as I was saying to the guys last week, we should be employing about another 100 lawyers to defend people in magistrate court that were paid for by taxpayers. We could employ them and pay them what the doctors are paid because the doctors in the public service are not very well paid anyway. But they are happy to do the job. So we could pay lawyers with the same amount of money to do the kind of work that doctors are doing for the public and go forward that way. But we got too many tiers of administration. Now, I'm not saying sending them people home. Don't send home nobody, but start cutting back on them. You see, we had a constitutional change about, 15 years ago with Trotty, what's his name? Mr. Trotman. When it was done, said that the public service salary cannot be cut. anymore to his disadvantage, or cannot be adjusted that way. But I think now government or cabinet should have that freedom to adjust the public servant salary down in case of times of austerity, and return them to normalcy when times are better. That freedom should still be available. And I'm talking about the salaries of the top tier. Bring them down when necessary and carry them back up, because you work in the public service with a sense of sacrifice. You have a tenure. You don't really lose your job. You're safe till you retire. I think with that should come some kind of sacrifice. You should be able to say, something, Bob, this really can't afford to pay me right now, so I will take a haircut. And then come forward again. That is how I see the public service working. But this notion of sending home people, man, you got to be serious. You cannot be serious, because every person you send home is a consumer. You're thinking about, this dynamic private sector.
When you cut people, when you reduce people's salary like that, that
but you
person's
only
also
reduce
a
the salary of
consumer.
one or two people as opposed to a whole $1,300 per year, cutting it completely out. Every person has employed. Every person is a consumer.
But
Everyone.
clearly, from the discussion that we're having here, it is something that we need to discuss as a country. We need to have this national consultation is something that I believe in, and we have to do this. It hasn't happened
yet. We had a national consultation
that does not mean it can't happen.
But I don't know if it'll ever happen in my lifetime, because, quite frankly, the way these two parties have been operating so far is about, I got 5 years and government is like it or lump it. That is how it has been.
All right, my friend. Anyhow,
clearly, but you have a comment.
I gotta run. This is Brasstacks. Good morning. You're on the air. Good morning. You're on the air. We take a commercial break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Brasstacks. It's 11:26. Remember, we take a break at 11:55 for the regional roundup, and then at 12:30 for the latest. You're on the air. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you doing, sir?
I am fine, thank you, sir.
Let me lower my radio. I want to say
this is Mark.
It is, sir.
I was saying I haven't heard you in about a week or so.
I think, thank you. One of the things about me, I stay off because whenever I call the calling program, I'm supposed to have positive results. And I think people expect this of me, and regardless of what others may think, I feel pleased with my contribution. This morning, Sanka, I believe I'm going to have to ask you to hold back and let me get an answer to these questions elsewhere. But first, before I go into that, I want to ask the people at NCC if they are aware of the condition and the deteriorating situation of Bridgetown which they're responsible for. For example, right in the taxi stand there opposite Trident House, disgraceful. You could tie a cow there, you could tie sheep there. The grass is so tall, you see the grass and not the taxis. I wonder when they're going to go to that. If you look at Jubilee Gardens, sir, and you realize the grime, the stuff, the dirt in Jubilee Gardens, you ask yourself if this is being maintained by a conservation that's supposed to be getting that money from government. You look again at Independence Square, and you ask yourself, is this supposed to be a replica of what Bridgetown's supposed to be and a former prime minister, or is this supposed to be a kind of a dirty hall? I am calling on the people at Natural Housing, the manager of Natural Conservation, the manager, the supervisor, all of them, go and see what is happening in Bridgetown as far as the taxi stand is concerned, as far as Jubilee Gardens is concerned, and as far as Hero Square is concerned. And I'm sure it's a disgrace. So people who are listening to me this morning, pass and see for yourself. It's a disgrace to have a city looking like that. No. Mr. Price, I would ask you to let me corner a gentleman. I'm asking Ezra Allen, attorney at law, if he could follow these answers for us as far as this session or that last session of Parliament was concerned. Now, you and I know that when you become a member of Parliament here in Barbados, you actually automatically become a member of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Most of the parliamentarians are members, so which means we still adopt the parliamentary, the Commonwealth Westminster system. And since we adopt the Westminster system, then we have to respect it. You would realize that sometime back we had a celebration in Barbados in relation to our association with the Commonwealth. Now, I'm going to ask these questions. If you have ministers of government who laid on the floor of Parliament, who told lies away from the floor of Parliament, isn't this a breach of what the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association is all about? That I have seen, and you have seen, former members of Parliament, Britain and all across Australia, being pulled away from Parliament because of their behaviour. And here we have got a country where we have got parliamentarians who lied morning, noon and night. They lied so much that they get so comfortable telling lies they don't know when to tell the truth. But they're members of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. We are members of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and these same people are now about to ask you to come and vote for them. Mr. Ezra Allen, I'm asking you these questions. If you could come and justify what is the position as far as members of Parliament in Barbados, even though we do not adopt, we should be adopting the Commonwealth system. Why are nothing being done about it? Secondly, Mr. Allen, I'm asking you, if the 90 days that have been granted, if we check from yesterday, and we go all the way up until June, you will see the Prime Minister is within his rights to have 90 days. So if he calls the election the first week in June, somewhere along the line, you cannot question him. So those of us who are pestering him, because he has to go as good as gone. So why should we reward how long he stays? Because he knows he's going. He knows he's going better than you or I. So, Mr. Allen, I'm asking you, if the Prime Minister have a right, and I know he has a right, to go up until the first week in June because he has a 90-day period. And the 90 days start as of yesterday. Mr. Allen, if you don't mind, would you please come and let Barbados understand fully that as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, he's exercising his rights. We will exercise our rights when the time comes. So give him a chance. Whether he calls it tomorrow, whether he calls it next week, or he decides to call it in June.
All right, Mark, you're on a platform. I'll give you a lot of latitude, but you're on a platform, and you know me and that.
Let me come off of that then.
Please.
I'm saying the message has gone across. The message has gone across that somewhere along the line, if I can get the answers in the public of Barbados, because Ezra Allen has a program called Ask Me. I think you're aware of that.
No, he was on the program of the Nation. The Nation has a program, Ask Me Anything. And in that program, the Nation outlines a range of things that they're doing. And it's a very, very interesting program. You can watch it on Facebook at any time. And Mr. Allen was on, I think yesterday or day before, I can't remember which day it was, and where he outlined this whole thing about what this 90-day period means, okay, from a constitutional perspective.
So which means, Mr. that the Prime Minister has his rights to go the full 90 days.
Yes, he is within his constitutional right. The government is within their constitutional right to do this.
I also want to express a belief I have. I may be ignorant of what I'm saying, but a lot of people seem to think that way. But I read, right? And if you took the estimates last month, and you realize that certain parts of the estimates were voted for, the estimates was passed, then they give the government or the people who are interim government or those who are performing as a government the right to make decisions because they're part of that vote. So here it is, you vote for X amount of money to go for health. You vote for X amount of money to go for education. And you vote. So by the time a new government is formed in Barbados, there's a possibility that there will be some subtractions from that vote. Do you feel so, Mr. Standpoint?
But we know that is going to happen. Come on.
That's it. So here it is now that a government going into office realize now that somewhere along the line that the spend power has been reduced because of this government does not have any time to go for a budget. So as to say, as far as they're concerned,
well, the estimates is really the budget. I mean, that thing that we go through about what the government is doing here and there. I mean, really, it's more ceremonial than anything else. But the reality is that when you go through the estimates at the end of the year, and you've apportioned X or Y or Z to the particular ministries, I mean that is it.
Let me make a comment for you.
The budget that the Minister of Finance has later in the year basically just looks at some of the priorities some of the things that the government would prioritize. But it gives him a chance to have a political speech because that's what it really is.
Let me break it down to my shopkeeper level. Yes, you are perfectly right in what you've said, but I am a shopkeeper. I order groceries from the merchant. The merchant, by right, sends the groceries at wholesale price to me. I then have to turn and make a retail price to get my merchandise sold. So technically, if you have a certain amount of spend power, then it's obvious that the Minister of Finance have to find a way of getting back in some money to run this country. So that's my elementary way of doing it. That yes, you have the estimates. Yes, you have a situation that he has to put on prices to get back in some money. So whether you think about the estimates is this or the estimates is that, we depend on what we call whether there be an increase or decrease as far as the budget is concerned. And this government can't do it. They don't have the time to do it. They don't have the time. I say to you, and I'm closing, I'm calling on, as I said earlier, I'm calling on the staff and the supervisors of NCC to take my foolish comment and go and see how Bridgetown look. I'm asked, right?
All right, Mark, thank you for your contribution. I want to tell you here now that someone just wrote, "Good day, Mark Williams is spot on about the condition of the city. I too am appalled at the condition. We surely can do better." So, Mark, that's some support for you on WhatsApp. This is, it's 11:35. We go back to the phone lines. Good morning. You're on the air. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, cool. There's three things I want to talk about. I'm trying to make it as short as possible. One, transport board in the situation that's in. I would like to let the public know it's not the fault of the drivers nor the supervisors.
So let me stop you a minute. Are you associated in some way with the transport board, or were associated with the transport board in some way? I don't know if I'm exposing.
I don't normally ask a question with a question. Where's your relevance?
No, because I noticed that it is the one topic that this voice, your voice,
what should they talk
always.
About?
No. I'm not dissuading you in any way, but
I know
it seems to be a very keen interest that you have, and you usually bring some keen insight into the whole matter of transport. So I'm just wondering, what was your involvement in transport matters?
One, I hate to see people being at disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? True no fault of their own.
Yeah, okay.
That's one, and that's the main reason.
Okay.
Right? Now,
you go right ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you just now, but you
no
go
problem.
right ahead.
My apologies, because I was beginning to think the wrong way, so my apologies for that. Should have given you a chance to explain from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Now, the Ministry of Public Works have had licensing authority for years. For years. They have had a traffic section for years. No system is picture perfect. But I can tell you, what is happening now is the worst ever that I've ever seen with public transportation. And it's all because of something called the Transport Authority. From the time that came about, everything has been going wrong.
Why? Why in your estimation that this is happening?
And I think it is purposely done, and the facts are there. You know, I would like to come in the studio now with Michael Lashley, Pandora, and Linton. Only me. And I have to ask the questions that I pose to them.
Okay, stop here.
I am very serious about this, you know.
I want you right now. You are on the air. Could you give us at least 3 questions that you would like to pose to the Minister of Transport and Works or to the Chairman of the Transport Authority?
1, this is to the Minister, and this for all of them. As a minister responsible for transportation, a business that has been in the red for years, who have had a few productive routes, I would like to know from that minister, why have you flooded those roads, especially the Spicetown bypass, with competition to further deplete whatever earnings that was being achieved by Transport Board? Every minibus load I see is money going away from Transport Board. And by that happening, you are putting the jobs of those drivers at risk, because if you are in charge of a business and you keep on losing money, you're not going to give your staff an increase in salary. You're going to try to reduce the staff. The next thing that can possibly happen is another increase in bus fares, or both. Mm-hmm. Right? They have areas in Barbados that are poorly serviced, don't have any transportation, the first thing you need to do, Sanka, is a clean house. That's the very first thing. Because you're going to move in an apartment and set up a table where you're going to eat at a dirty table, you're going to clean house. That's the first thing that needs to be done. And for this to happen, I personally think that all boards that are attached to government should be done away with. All government agencies that have boards attached to them, there's always problems. The minister creates the board. He's not going to put the majority opposition members there. He's going to put his people that don't realize how dangerous this thing is, It is putting people at an advantage. Transport board have, let me tell you something goes on. Transport board is so short of workers, right? That when a bus now and it's going into the yard, the supervisor go on the street to get that bus. You have buses at Mangrove with the bellies out. I mean, the engines go up there and see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Go out there. People talk about at Weymouth. Go to Mangrove. Go there and see.
All right, you gave me commentary. You asked one question. You want to ask two more?
We're late. This is not a question. That's why we're late. To see the transport authority out of existence. That is what
why explain yourself? But explain yourself. What have they done, or what, in your view, they have not done enough
they
of?
They are destroying the transport board. That is what
how
they're doing.
So?
I hear people say that the
how
minister
so?
don't know what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
But how have they destroyed the transport board?
I just tell you, Sanka.
You're saying they're giving lucrative routes to minibuses and ZRs. Basically, that's the first thing, correct?
Yeah.
Good. What else?
But that's the main thing. That's the main thing. I mean, you should always try to no. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's not room for. When I mentioned about cleaning house, we have had a PSV situation going on in a very negative way for years.
A what?
A PSV situation. There's a lot of good workers out there in Sanka. A lot. But the Barbados mentality. They can see the minibus man. They can see Zara man. They're going to see Zara, Zay. They're going to put all in one basket, which is wrong. So the thing is to get rid of all the bad ones. Get rid of them now.
So when you say clean house, you mean get rid of all the PSV people who are giving troubles.
Huh?
What do you think of the ministers, of a number of ministers of government, speaking over the last few days in Parliament? They made the point that they think that the operators of the private concessionaires should get duty-free status so that they can bring in newer buses and better quality buses. What do you think of that?
I initially was against it. Initially, right? But as you explained to me on a previous program prior to this, you explained to me the work that have to be done by those by the maintenance and all of that. And what you said made a lot of sense. So I concede to that. But even though I want to hear them, we know that at the portion election, huh? When you came in there, you knew exactly what the situation was or is, and it still is. You see these two major parties, the B's and the D's? I would like to be rid of them, both of them, because one of them telling you, I ain't going to give you a bowl of rice and black ice, and that's when I tell you that I give you black ice and rice, and the foolish people, and they make an apology, spawning for it all the time, not realizing it's just the way it's worded. That's all it is,
Well, my friend,
that the hard...
My friend, you deserve what you get for the standards you set. So if you set certain standards and you then get them, you can't ask for anything less. But I got to go.
You know what I want? I hope that Lynette Ismail pull it off, and I hope she get all the candidates. Right, when they said, how do you know they're going to turn out the same way? I hear pretty work and talking about third parties. I'm going to make it. Bar was a third party. And there's a lot of positive history involved with it till this group came along, destroy everything.
All right, sir.
But we have to do something. We can't go on with this.
All right, sir. You made your point. We gotta go. We go to the next call. We've got about 6 calls there. Calls there. Calls there. Calls there. Calls there. Calls there.
Greetings, Banker. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Go right ahead.
That's good.
Oh, this is Marcia.
Yeah.
Okay.
I listened to the program yesterday, and the constitutional discussion, which I think it was the Democratic Labour Party candidate for the city, was having confused me in areas. I don't know if you heard the discussion as well. I'm not going to attempt to praise here of what was said, but there were some things that which rang. They did not ring bells in my head. Let me put it that way. And I think, Sanka, that this issue is important enough. And when I say this issue, I mean the issue of our Constitution and what is allowed and not allowed in the context of these 90 days that we're going into. I think it's an important enough issue in terms of understanding exactly where we are as Barbadians that perhaps we need more information and elucidation so that the average person in the street can understand.
So you're going to enlighten us about our uncharted waters?
I am not a lawyer. I happen to know a little bit about the Constitution. I can give you some thoughts and some areas that concern me. But of course, I would be glad, if you or somebody else then can add the girth and the depth that I might not be capable of. But let's just start by accepting that the Constitution outlines basically the governmental structure that we should have in Barbados, right? So if you look at Chapter 5, it gives you information about what is supposed to be the requirement in terms of, I think that one is the Parliament. Let me just flip over here. Chapter 5 gives you information about what the composition of the Parliament is to look like. Chapter 6 talks about the executive power, and Chapter 7, the judiciary. Now, in terms of the period that we are in now, if we look at 61 3 of the Constitution as it is currently written, this is the first thing. It says, subject to the provision of subsection 4, Parliament, unless sooner dissolved, shall continue for 5 years from the date of its first sitting after any dissolution and shall then stand dissolved. So based on what that is saying there, our Parliament was dissolved by virtue of having served 5 years on Monday of this week. Because the Parliament has been dissolved, then some other provisions come into play, or the interpretation of those provisions come into play. One being what is captured at 61.5, and the other being what is captured at 61.2. Now, 61.5 is quite long, and I don't want to read it out. But my concern is that I was hearing yesterday of some 6-month period, some 6-month grace period that the Prime Minister had before an election could be called. And I wasn't clear. I'm not clear on what it is that was being said. There seems to be a provision in our Constitution, which is an emergency provision. This is another thing that I heard yesterday. I heard the suggestion made that it isn't an emergency provision, but I want to put the reason why I think it can be properly seen as emergency provision on the table. You can tell me whether you agree or not, or somebody with more understanding of the topic can tell me if they agree or not. I just started by saying that chapters 5, 6, and 7 of our Constitution explain the 3 minimum arms which we need to have a properly constituted government in Barbados. There is a provision which allows for 90 days of the continuation of a governmental structure in Barbados. And the reason why I'm saying that it has to be an emergency provision is that in a case like this, where that grace period comes at the end of 5 years of tenure for the legislature, the parliament, it means then that there are only two arms of government left. Three, if you take one from three, end up with two, right, Sanka?
Mm-hmm.
Think so, right? Okay. So if you take away the parliament by virtue of it being dissolved because it served its term, it means that you're only left with the judiciary and the executive. But yet our Constitution outlines that we are supposed to have three at a minimum. Okay? So I am thinking that based on the fact then that in a period such as this, our government can be considered not properly constituted, that 90-day provision was most likely an emergency provision, so that if something extraordinary was happening, let's say the hurricane of the magnitude of what Dominica faced last year had hit us before election or whatever elections was not possible, then you would have two arms that could still keep the government functional until such time as an election could be called. Now, the Constitution even goes further to outline some of those emergency situations in case of war and that kind of thing, what would happen. Now, so that's why I'm thinking it's emergency provision, but like I said, I am, I can be.
Let me get in here because I want you to develop your argument because I recognize that you were saying something similar as you said in your column, which I read,
yep.
Word for word, and I even discussed it with a lawyer who has an interest in this sort of subjects, and he came to the conclusion, and I'm being guided by him, that really and truly the government is within their right to do this. And it is not a case where whether it's emergency or not, because we had a situation similarly in Trinidad with Kamala Bessessar, the prime minister there, where she also went into that 90-minute provision because it's there.
If only it was 90 minutes, 90 days.
Sorry, Mike. Thank you.
90 minutes, I wouldn't mind.
90 day 90-day provision. So the government is well within its right from a constitutional
point of view
perspective. But as David mentioned yesterday, it is the spirit of the law that I think that quite a few people are questioning here.
But it's not only the spirit of the law. The question is, if we have three minimum requirements for a government, okay, we now are at that place where we have two. That is one of the concerning things. Now, further from that, and what I really would like an answer to today, 62(1) says that after the dissolution of Parliament, the Governor-General shall issue writs for a general election of members of the House of Assembly returnable within 90 days from the dissolution. Now, I didn't hear she may, I didn't hear she could, didn't hear any of that. So what I am trying to understand is, now that our Parliament stands dissolved, does the Governor-General have an obligation based on what is outlined in the Constitution?
But I can't remember the provisions, but she has to do that on the advice of the Prime Minister.
But it doesn't say that in 62(1).
It doesn't, but you see, because you can't read that statute, as you know, you can't just read the statute. And they're cross-references all the time. But the reality is that she, well, is a she in this particular case, she will do that on the advice of the Prime Minister.
But that's what I'm asking, because under this Part 5, where I'm taking this particular information about summoning the propagation and the dissolution of Parliament, I'm not seeing the cross-referencing. So that's what I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to establish.
It's not there, because I actually went through it. I looked at your article, and I actually downloaded the Constitution on my computer, and so I went through it line by line to think. The reality is this, and because I have a person here also saying, and I'll just read this quickly. First, let me say I am not satisfied with your response to the mail you received earlier. The question was, if the Prime Minister does not call an election, what would happen? Respectfully, Sanka, this has nothing to do with believing the Prime Minister. If he does not call it, it will be automatically called when the prescribed period has passed.
Right.
Okay?
We're not arguing that.
Right. So at the end of the day, and WhatsApp person, I will read the other half of your message. That was for that person. Yeah, but at the end of the day, the Prime Minister has taken this route. The Constitution does provide for him to take this route. What, in my view, we should be asking is what impact this is going to have on the country, because right now the country is in lame duck mode.
But yes, that's exactly
and
the
that
question
for
that
me
I'm
is
trying
the
to
issue.
ask.
We had a banker in the Nation newspaper making it quite clear that, this is a period of uncertainty because you're not going to make investment at this period. Nothing is really going to happen, and that is the problem. It is, and it is happening at a time when our foreign reserves are continue to slide.
That is
and
another
for
part
my
that
mind, that
concerns me.
is the real issue that should be being discussed. As far as and I understand, I'm not dismissing or diminishing your argument in any way, but for me, I am really concerned about what is going to happen going forward in terms of our economy. Because
now, let me just explain why 62.1 troubles me so much in terms of if the Governor General is just supposed to automatically issue those writs or what happens. Because in the provision before that, which is 61.5, okay, the Parliament of Barbados can be reconvened in the case of an emergency. So let's say our foreign reserves really bottom out and there is a need for our Parliament to go back and do something to arrest that situation.
Marsha, I can't develop this conversation any further, but if you stay on the line, I'll get back to you because we really need to go to the regional roundup right now. So we'll be with you. We'll come back with you as soon as the regional roundup is finished. Welcome back. Marsha, are you still there?
Yes, Anka.
Sorry we had to leave you so abruptly, but everything is timed.
That's okay.
Yeah, you're making your point.
Right. So what I was saying is, and I'm sorry to go over this, like you rightly said, Sanka, I've just interrogated this in another space, but I'm doing it in relation to some of what I heard yesterday that didn't ring quite right. Now, I was saying to you that the Parliament can be reconstituted in the case of an emergency or foreign reserve. Something happens, we need to have urgent decisions. But that is conditional upon if the Governor General does not file the writs for elections. So once the writs for elections are filed, there is no way to invoke that again, I call it an emergency further provision that the last sitting Parliament can be reconstituted as it sat before the dissolution. So not only are we moving ourselves into this very uncharted waters of having, a 5-year period elapsed and no election having been called, but we are further into an uncharted place where if an emergency should happen, our Parliament, our legislature cannot be reconstituted. So that's why it becomes important to understand whether the Governor General's actions are just supposed to be triggered by the dissolution of Parliament or if that is conditional upon her taking advice from the Prime Minister. But like I said, when I look in the statute, I am not seeing a provision that takes it back to any conditional upon anything. So if we're saying that the government is within its constitutional right and it can do this thing and this, that, I think it is only fair for all of us to have the fullness and understanding of what the Constitution is really saying. Because I am understanding it to mean that if our Parliament dissolves as it has on Monday, without an election date on the horizon, etc., that the Governor General is to issue the writs for election. And if I'm wrong about that, then I would like somebody to make the clarification. It is not enough, Sanka, that in this period, this economic period for Barbados, that we're all going to sit around and twiddle our thumbs for 89 or 88 more days and hope and pray that nothing happens. Gas prices are on the increase again. We are playing with fire.
Mm-hmm. Marsha, what I will try to do, I will try to get someone who can speak to the Constitution, and even if I'm not on, I will try to get that person to come on so that they can make that clarification.
Yes, I think that would be,
for yourself, as for other Barbadians who are obviously very concerned about this.
I think it would be the best thing, because if you have people representing political institutions and putting their view, let me put it that way, of the situation, then you're going to need to either be able to provide the fullest story, or you're going to have somebody who comes on the back end of that and offers the necessary clarification.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Take good care. This is Brasstacks. It's 12:10. Good afternoon.
Mr. Price. Hello?
Good afternoon. I'm listening.
Yes, sir. Oh, how are you doing, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, you sound very cold to have me. Got chill. Mr. Price.
You've
the
clearly
lady who
not
was
been
just
never. You've clearly never been into the studio.
Yeah, the lady who has just been engaging your attention for that length of time. I think if you'd read as Allen's article, ministers will remain ministers until there's a new parliament. Full stop. So I don't think all that she get herself concerned about really makes any sense. Trinidad had an election some years ago, and there was the 1818 tie. Remember that? And Parliament did not sit for close to 18 months, but the country still ran. So I don't know what was the concern. Anyway.
Well, I don't expect anything else from you. You
Well,
seem to
well,
be
thank you very
very,
much.
very, very dismissive of concerns of other people because you just come here to push your own propaganda.
Mr. Price, don't go
Okay?
down that road.
No,
Don't
I
go
will
that
go
road.
down that road with you.
Don't go
Okay?
that road.
Because you cannot be dismissive of something like this. You can't be. Anyhow, make your point. Make your point. No.
I did not dismiss it. I said
Make your point. Otherwise, no. Brasstacks, good afternoon. You're on the air. You're on the air. Stop listening to your radio. Just read this WhatsApp until we get this little technical hitch here figured out. This person wants to know about the National Insurance Fund relating to pensions. The staff at NAS are not answering the phones. I have been calling since last week and the past 2 days. Sometime before Christmas last year, NAS sent a check for a month to be changed one time, as opposed to 2 pieces sent before. So this person has some concerns about that. Yes, we're back here with the phone lines. All worked out? Yeah, let's go. Good afternoon. This is getting down to Brasstacks. It's 12:13. We break at 12:30. You're on the air.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I am fine.
Mr. Price, I would like to start my submission by asking you a question, right? If you have a good friend and you do good things to this friend, and let's say you have just given the friend $500, and then you did something that was wrong. You feel that the friend should chastise you about it?
Friends, if you and somebody are close, you should be able to tell that person the truth.
Right.
Unfortunately, in life, sometimes the uncomfortable truth is such that it impacts a friendship, a supposedly good relationship between people. And that is at every level.
Okay. Let me start my submission. A couple of days ago, a gentleman came on this program and he alluded to an issue in relation to the National Disability Unit, the amount of steps that person with disability would have to go up to get there, about 21 steps. And do you know that after that, I guess everybody in Barbados heard responses from a minister in Parliament lashing out at him and saying that, and we help him with a house. The same person that get help with house, let's go pay rent every possible move. And Mr. Price, that person has a disability. And I know that they are struggling even to get the rent pay. Some persons with disabilities, after receiving the national insurance pension, and then have to pay for rent, if they don't be careful, Mr. Price, they can't eat. When you go into supermarkets, things have become so expensive, especially now with this NSRL tax that this government has just inflicted on its people. Mr. Price, it ain't easy out there at all. Only yesterday, I witnessed about 5 persons that I know whose electricity have been turned off because the people can't afford jobs that they can't get to be able to facilitate themselves in order to get ends meet. And people are coming on this ear and talking all kind of things. Mr. Price, I'm a person with a disability, right? And I'm feeling it like everybody else. But
I want you to tell us what, without obviously trying to identify yourself, how are you coping on a day-to-day basis and ease off of the negatives of the how the government imposed this and the government imposed that. We know that it's only government who can impose taxes.
Okay. For myself, I would say that I may not be able to get all of the things that I would like or that I need, right? One of the things that I must be thankful of is that the Lord has allowed me to own my own home. So therefore, the little money that I'm getting, I don't have to pay rent. That is a plus for me. But as I said, it is really rough out there, and I can tell you that there are many persons like myself with various types of disabilities that have to pay rent, and then they don't know where food can come from. Mr. Price, they got children that they got to send school.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be realistic. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm not sort of dismissing or diminishing anything that you're saying, but at the same time, this is something that has been going on in terms of people who are on the edge, who are just above the poverty line, or who are under the poverty line, trying to make ends meet. That is why the different social agencies have been put there to try to assist these people. And I'm sure, well, no, I'm sure, I shouldn't say that, but what I should say is, aren't some of the people that you know trying to apply to those social agencies for assistance?
Yes, Mr. Price.
And what is
Some
happening?
Some have tried and failed.
Why have they failed? Do you have any idea?
Don't ask me. You have
are
to
you
ask.
are you getting assistance through the social agencies as well?
No, because I have worked before. I receive
NIS.
NIS.
Okay.
Right. So, and as I said, I don't have to pay rent. So the money that I would have to pay rent, if I had to pay rent, I would probably go to live at my mother. Thank God that I don't have to do that. But there's not everybody out there that is as fortunate as me. Right? And one of the other things that I am cognizant of is that then there are many other disabled persons that are struggling and they don't want housing. There's supposed to be legislation that says that when a housing complex is built, a certain percentage to be allocated for persons with disabilities, right? It probably happened on a very, very small scale. But then at the end of the day, if the person is only receiving, and you don't get this, you don't get them free, you don't get them free, Mr. Price. You still got to pull your pockets. And if the little money that you are getting from the government, some probably are living off of the non-contributory pension, right? And you probably know how much the non-contributory pension is. So if you have to pay the rent from your non-contributory pension, and then you don't got no other assistance, I know persons that have gone to the welfare and they get turned down. Mr. Bright is very hard up there.
I'm hearing you. I'm aware of a number of welfare cases that are, to me, kind of heartbreaking. But one of the things that I would like to see in this country is that the associations speak out, like the disabled community. You would have a particular body who's representative of that body, that they are in a position to say, look, these are the problems that we face. This is why I admire BARP, the Barbers Association of Retired Persons, because they have their leadership speaks out about matters that affect the elderly. And I would like to hear these types of things. What are the real problems that are affecting people in the disabled community, and you get this thing coming out, because what we tend to get are people who got their own, especially in this silly season. It's really the silly season where people who have an axe to grind. They come out and they're just making their points. I mean, if you can see here, right, well, you obviously can't see here, but right now, I am being accused by some people of allowing they're saying that you're pushing your own propaganda, and I'm allowing it. The only reason that I am, because of the fact that you're talking about how hard things are, et cetera, and that is the problem that I have here. And for those who are writing right now and saying that I was unduly harsh to the last caller who calls himself Arthur, or who's called that, I make no apology, because every day he comes with the same thing and is dismissive of other people's concerns.
Mr.
Okay?
Price?
Oh, no. I talking. Just hold a second.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? Because I'm not really talking to you, but I'm talking to these people here who are on WhatsApp and in general. The reality is this. Everybody has a right to come on this program and to put forward their case for their party. That is not a problem. However, you cannot dismiss issues of import. You cannot do it, and it continues to happen. And like in your case, sir, that who I'm talking to now, who is disabled, I am well aware of a number of cases where people are literally suffering because they're below the poverty line and they cannot get any assistance. And that's why I made the point here about the actual representative body coming out. Because the reality is that when an individual comes out and says something, A, B, or C, it's just that one person alone. And their motives can be, whatever. Because in this country, and especially in this silly season, people always impute motive, even though the person has a genuine case. And that is why it's better for the association to be actually saying something on behalf of their membership. And I would really wish that you would get your association to make these complaints, because there are genuine cases. And what is happening is that people are walking around, or they have their friends or relatives walking around begging for assistance. They have letters and they have pictures. I was approached and 2-3 days ago, was it, by someone outside a major supermarket, and they showed me a picture of the person, the letter, and whatnot. Normally I ignore these things, but because I the nation had done a story with this person at some time ago. I recognize the individual. Okay, and I know this is too much of this is happening.
Yeah,
and
but
there are too many people give me a sec. Too many people are falling through the cracks, and we gotta deal with it because at the end of the day, we all gotta live in this place, and all this partisan foolishness. And yes, I said it, partisan foolishness. Okay, at the end of the day, we are not gonna have a country if we continue in this way. And I am not gonna sit down here and tolerate all this partisan foolishness all the time. No, I'm not going to do it. Make your point, sir.
There are legitimate organizations out there for persons with disabilities. But as you know, there's only so much that those organizations can do. And it is not that the organizations aren't speaking out and lobbying on behalf of persons like myself. It is being done. But you got to ask yourself, what are the end results? Like, for instance, as I said, somebody came on this program and said, like, for instance, you go to the hospital and the hospital gives you a prescription to get medication. And if when you go to collect the medication, there's not that one particular medication that you're supposed to get. The person said, oh, we didn't start depending on someone's freeness and go and buy the medication, and then allude to the fact that person is going to buy lotto tickets. Mr. Price, that is very insensitive, and everybody don't go buy lotto tickets. What about the persons that don't buy and are in dire need and don't have the last cent to pay for that medication? Tell me.
Mm-hmm. Well, sir, anyhow, I'd like to thank you for your call. As I said, I really think you have to work through the association to start getting the information out there. In fact, the best time for a lot of the associations to talk is now. We have this 90-day period where I'm sure if the government and the opposition parties never listened to you before, they will listen now because they need to listen to you now. And I would tell all associations, this is the time to be proactive and get your message out to all the political parties. They have to listen to you now. And this is the best way to get the message out. We have to take a break for the latest, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's now 12:44. We go straight to 1. We've cleared all our ads. And before I go back to the phone lines, which are packed, I'll just get this one in. I'm wondering, this is a WhatsApp message, I'm wondering if something can be done to make the Jersey bars on the ABC highway more visible, especially on stretches where the lights are dim or non-existent. I find it extremely difficult to use the inside lane on certain parts of that highway at night because of the Jersey bars. So is it possible for the Ministry of Transport and Works to put some sort of bright paint or something on the bars to assist, especially the elderly motorists? Just wondering if I am the only one having that difficulty. So I've read your message as requested. We go back to the phone lines. They're packed. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Price, and how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You were not harsh to that person. You were right. I want to say to the people of Barbados, someone told me this morning, and I really don't agree with them, that a nation gets the government they deserve. I don't think that this nation deserves what we are going through right now. The people of Barbados are good people. This is a beautiful island. We don't deserve the treatment and the behavior of this administration, of what we're going through. And then there was another guy who spoke about being tired of both parties, the previous party, the BLP and the DLP. I too am tired of both parties, and we really need to be paying attention. I am begging Barbadians, before the next general elections, if there is going to be one, because everyone seems to be very confused at this time. Please pay attention. Please think very carefully about politicians, because sometimes I wonder if politicians really care about anybody but themselves. And the things I'm hearing and I'm reading and I'm seeing and I'm listening to have me very confused. I don't know what is going on, but I feel for the people that are really having a hard time, as the guy was saying about the disabled and whoever else. I really feel for them, and I pray God that I know God is not sleeping, that something positive comes out of all these hardships. May God bless you, Mr. Price.
Same to you. Have yourself a great day. This is Brasstacks. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, you're on the air. Please turn on your radio.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Go right ahead.
Right. I really wanted to call and thank the young lady, Marcia, who was having a very enlightening discussion with you concerning the dissolution of Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions I was asking myself, too, because I believe that the government should have, informed the people as to the terms and conditions of the 90-day period.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me if the ministers are still ministers?
Yes.
Or are they
Yes,
ex-ministers?
Yes. No, the ministers are still ministers.
But how can they be ministers if Parliament has been dissolved?
They're no longer MPs because Parliament has been dissolved, but you remain a minister. Cabinet is still there. Cabinet will make the decisions on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I thought that Cabinet came to an end when Parliament was dissolved. But this is how we always do it.
No, the members of Parliament, they're no longer members of Parliament, but the Cabinet is part of the executive body, the decision-making body of the government, and they're still in place.
Well, what I wanted to say to this government is that the relationship between the Democratic Labour Party and the people of Barbados has broken down. And we want a divorce.
But why would you say it is broken down?
It is broken down. There's a lack of trust. You cannot
So
trust
why do you
the
think
government.
that there's a lack of trust?
Well, because look at this recent scenario with Four Seasons. The Minister of Finance gave Barbadians an impression that investors were interested in Four Seasons. And over the weekend, we discovered that the Four Seasons project was sold since 2015. Would you not call that a lack of trust, a breakdown of trust between the parties? And that's just one scenario. And I am saying to you, Mr. Price, that there's a term called political indecent assault. And I believe that this government is practicing political indecent assault on the people of Barbados. In that it is forcing itself on the people. The people have decided that the relationship is broken down and we want a divorce.
So that's your perspective there.
Yes,
I can tell you that there are quite a few people. In fact, there are 30,000 odd people in Barbados based on the trend of voting throughout the years, since independence certainly, who will vote differently to say that they are in total agreement with the government and its actions.
The government needs to give the people an opportunity to vote.
And they will get it after 90 days.
To the people of Barbados is wrong.
All right, sir. You've made your point. We got a lot of calls and we got a little time. 9 more minutes to go. This is Brasstacks. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Question for you. I don't know how much you know about pensions, right? But I can ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
If you were married and your wife died, and you were, and she was a pension, and you are too, and you're a pensioner. At her death, it works out that the national insurance would give the surviving person the most of the two pensions.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if you were getting if you were getting $1,000 and your wife were getting $1,200, your 1,000 was top and you would get her 12.
Yes. As far as
You
I
understand
know.
that's how it works?
Yes, I'm speaking on the correction, but I think that's how it works.
It works that way.
Mhm.
So I would like to know now if Mara Thompson can get David Thompson pension and hers too, or if she would get one. That's the question I would like to ask.
All right, I'll make a note of that question and try to get that answer
And,
as
yet,
well.
and one more thing I want to say to Sanka. Last night I was listening to Guest Mason and Guest.
Very good
I
program
think-
last night. Very good.
Pardon?
It was a very good program last night with Conde Riley and Prime Minister Gonzalez
it
on.
was good. It was good to Conde until Conde entered because this is the question I asking. Although I don't quite understand what Prime Minister Gonzalez and his team are trying to achieve, I don't really understand it. Somebody will have to sit me down and explain it to me in detail because I don't understand it. But the part of the program, although it was interesting, however, but the part of the program that I didn't like is when Conde entered the program. Conde this is the second time that Conde has been very disrespectful to the Prime Minister of St. Vincent. And the producer, whoever he or she was, should have cut out Conde when he was telling the Prime Minister dropping a lot of sarcastic comments towards the Prime Minister of St. Vincent. And I really think that Conde should apologize. And it's the second time I'm saying this, that Conde really should apologize to the Honorable Prime Minister of St. Vincent, because it's the second time that the Prime Minister was on the program, Conde came on, and he was very sarcastic and condescending, if I may add, to the Prime Minister. And I think that kind of behavior needs really to be cleaned up.
All right, sir. Point made. We would want to take at least one more call. Before I do that, this person is saying the DLP has proven they have Barbados's deeper interests at heart. And that is a response to some questions that are being asked about the concerns about the party. And this other person is saying, and this is in response to the Jersey barriers, you are not the only one. It's very scary because our headlights are angled to the left side. It means that most of the time the barriers are in darkness. This is from a disappointed road user. It is 12:54, 6 more minutes before the end of the program. You're on the air. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr.
Good afternoon,
Vice.
sir. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Yeah, first thing I have to say is I am not here to discuss politics because I made a decision months ago that I will not discuss politics with Mr. Price. I took a vacation with you discussing politics. But I called because I even surprised I get in. Can you help me? There's a question.
I'm not answering your question. Make your point. We have 3 more calls. Make your point.
Can you help me with what Mr. Arthur said that caused what I heard? Can you remember what he said? I mean, to reach a position in anything.
Sir, I'm not even dealing with that. Do you want to make another point?
you are
Do you
dealing
want to
with
make another point on
No,
any
I
issue?
told you the only thing I come here today for.
Okay.
I'm
not dealing with that. Have a great afternoon. Next caller. Good afternoon. This is Getting Down to Brasstacks. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Price.
Good afternoon.
Yes, the last time I heard you on the program, or at least the time before, I recall a gentleman by the name of Tony Wiggins was trying to raise a topic with you regarding a lecture delivered with the title, Is Barbados Ready for a Woman Prime Minister? And at that time, you tried hard not to allow the discussion because you were basically saying that it was foolishness. It wasn't worth discussing. And subsequent to that, Peter Wickham then also, in addition to that, you had also said that the presenter of the lecture had her own partisan political agenda to push. Since then, Peter Wickham delivered the same title, and he was asked to deliver it by the women's organization now. And I'm asking you the question is, since Peter Wickham delivered it, do you still think that the topic is foolishness and it doesn't worth discussing?
Why did I say this foolishness? Do you remember?
You you said that the presenter had her own personal political agenda.
I can't remember who the presenter was or anything because really and truly I don't even think about most of these things.
Maureen Holder.
Okay. Oh, I'm now with you. The point is this, and this is the only point I make because we have to be very quick.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that is not... Sir, I'm getting a lot of feedback here.
Oh, okay, let me go back and say
right. I strongly believe that the question of whether we want a female leader or anything to do with any females doing anything is a non-issue. Women are... Sir, please turn down the radio. We're getting a lot of feedback here, and it's gonna cause the transmission problem. Right? Right. The point I was making is that women have made tremendous strides. They have been, and as far as I am concerned, gender doesn't matter. What matters is competence. That is my interest. It has nothing to do with anything else. That is why I said it was foolishness. Then, that's why I think that any discussion about a female leader, a female, whether it's a leader of the country, whether it's the governor general, whether it's director of public prosecutions, whether it is a CEO of any sort, I think it is foolishness because I deal with competence, not gender. And I do not believe in getting into discussions about gender in any way because for me, it is all about competence. That determines, in my view, whether some person should get a position. So their sex, their gender has nothing, as far as I'm concerned, to do with it. And it saddens me that at this stage in the 21st century that we still talk about an issue and we have to put assign a gender to the whole topic. I don't believe in it. That is my philosophical belief, and I will always keep up to that view because I really don't think it is necessary. Anyhow, you're hearing and thank you for your call, sir. You're hearing the theme in the background. That means that we are out of time. Thank you very much. And I look forward to being here another day where we can discuss some issues and stop just dealing with this politicking. We really have to start looking at the issues that are affecting us, issues that are going to be here, whether or not whoever wins this government. We need to start looking at the issues, and we need to start to ask the questions that need to be asked of all the political actors, 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 the political